I'm going to finish off this evening with further talks of slut shaming and the stupidity of the fact that we still don't want to come to a consensus on what constitutes rape anymore. So I'm going to start with a GOP lawmaker who's saying that if you remember, Senator Akin and his legitimate rape theory is somehow real, and that we all overreacted when he said that because we're glib, right? Remember? And no, this article does not make a good case for what Akin was saying. It doesn't really make him partially right in any way, shape, or form. And this is of no support. And if this particular lawmaker is going to also back Akins up, he equally needs to go because this is stupid, it's counterproductive, and it's disgusting. GOP lawmaker backs Akins' legitimate rape theory. Philip Gingrey, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm sorry, I'm not meaning any disrespect. Remarks weren't so horrible. Todd Akins' legitimate rape remarks may have sparked a political firestorm and cost him his job. Rightfully so. But they were partly right, a GOP lawmaker said today, speaking at a function in Smyrna, Georgia. I'm sure I mispronounced that. Again, no disrespect meant. U.S. Republican, of course it would be a Republican, Phil Gingrey, sorry, don't know how to pronounce your name, dude, no disrespect intended, supported the former House member's distinction. Distinction? Distinction? Excuse me? He made no distinction. He simply said that if it's a case of legitimate rape, a woman's body will know how to shut that down, and therefore, in the case of legitimate rape, there should be no exceptions to the no abortion rule because legitimate rapes do not result in pregnancy. No, that is not a distinction. That is the ramblings of an insane person. One of these types of people who believe that eggs and sperm are people and that contraception, which would reduce the need for, you know, would greatly reduce the need for abortions, is pre-murder of pre-life. And I cannot, I do not have enough time in my life to explain how absolutely idiotic that kind of logic is. It's not logic. Neither is what I'm about to read. Look, someone can say I was raped. A scared to death 15-year-old that becomes impregnated by her boyfriend and then has to tell her parents. That's pretty tough. And might on some occasions say, hey, I was raped. That's what he meant when he said legitimate rape versus non-legitimate rape. No, he didn't make that distinction. I'm sorry, he did not. You were putting words after the fact, making a no, after the fact, to try to make anything that Atkins said was legitimate. It was not. That was not the case that he was making. That was the case that another person was making when he was saying that some women, well, they just rape so easily. Now, I'm not going to address in this video false rape accusations. I think they are abhorrent. I do not support false rape accusations. I do not agree with them. But you know what? You know what? Maybe if we weren't so anti-sex, maybe if we didn't have sex laws that hurt teenagers more than they do lecherous old men having sex with teenagers, maybe if we didn't have slut shaming in this society, maybe if we didn't look down on people, down on kids for being sexual beings, because we disagree with them being sexual beings before the age of 18, except for, oh, wait, that's right, that varies from state to state. If we didn't make such a confusing, moralistic, bullcrap fuss about teens doing what teens are going to do, whether we like it or not. And if instead of this idea of abstinence only, because abstinence always works, yes, it works when employed, but if it's not employed, it doesn't work. If we could break away from this idea that sex is our enemy, sex is evil, and anybody who has sex before marriage, they're evil, they're impure, they're damaged goods. If we could get our heads out of our hindquarters and start to look at the bigger picture here, we could see that maybe a good lot of these illegitimate rape cases when it comes to teenagers stems from our sex negative social views and pressures that we put onto kids. Instead of saying, have safe sex, here's how to do it, here's why it's important, here's why you're not going to regret it if you have safe sex, we say, don't have sex. This is one of the few times that an argument like that actually works in terms of this kind of discussion here. But no, instead of looking at society for what it is, instead of looking at teenagers, I'm not talking about kids, because we can easily get our terms mixed up and then suddenly this sounds like a disgusting diatribe about 5-year-olds needing to be banging other 5-year-olds. It's not, and don't put words in my mouth. No, this is about how we decide when our children are when our teenagers are sexual beings. And if we want the right to go after the man, the boy, the 17-year-old boy who had sex with his 17-year-old girlfriend because we're morally outraged, not because it resulted in a pregnancy or not because it resulted in some sort of harm to the 17-year-old girl. And guess who gets in trouble? Oh, the 17-year-old girl might get grounded by Daddy Dearest, but the boy goes to jail as a sex offender. And in some states, he has to register and publicly announce that he is a sex offender for life. So because of an innocent, natural sexual exploration by two teenagers of the same age, the boy teenager has to have his life ruined because mommy and daddy dearest don't approve. I'm going to break my rule and say grow the fuck up. Because this is disgusting. This is part of why our sex negativity is so destructive in this nation. Because then it breeds that, oh goodness, I can't tell the truth and I can't be accepted by my family if I tell the truth of what happens. I've got to ruin somebody else's life even though we loved each other or were in lust with each other or exploring each other in a natural, normal, healthy fashion. Oh, what am I talking about? I'm talking to people who think that masturbation is a one-way ticket to hell. I don't find anything so horrible about that, he added. Well, you might slightly be right, Phil, if that's exactly what Akin had said. It's not what he said, and you know it. You disingenuous prick. As a veteran OBGYN, he agreed with Akins' contention that women experiencing legitimate rape may, keyword there, may be unable to conceive. Yes, that's true. But when you hear the rest of this, you'll understand why this guy is an idiot. The Marriott Daily Journal reports Phil has said that said he has advised women to relax to help facilitate pregnancy because tension can curb ovulation. This is true. Women's bodies are very delicate. Stress, anxiety, tension, any of that stuff can impact conception or the lack thereof. It can also lead to miscarriages and things of this nature. So Akin was, quote, partially right, wasn't he? But the fact that a woman may have already ovulated 12 hours before she is raped, you're not going to prevent a pregnancy there. And yet the media looks at that and tore it apart. Because that's not what Akins said, you stupid GOP prick. Indeed, we ran the story calling it literally medieval, which it was, but Mitt Romney and President Obama didn't agree with him either. Look, yes, everybody knows that tension, anxiety, fear, any sort of major raw emotions can interrupt conception. That's not what Akin said. That's not what Akin said. He said that a woman's body knows if it's being raped or not, and that it has ways to shut it down. He didn't say that because of stresses, that if it's a legitimate rape, it's less likely to result in pregnancy, which again still does not excuse the idea or make it right to take away the rape exception from any of the anti-abortion legislation that's constantly trying to be shoveled on all of us. Akin wasn't talking about stress. He was talking about a body that somehow is autonomous in and of itself and can shut this stuff down because it knows when it's being legitimately raped and when it actually has asked for it. Because, yeah, that's not slut shaming in the slightest. That's not creating more of the sex negative attitudes and ideals that permeates our society and indeed in some cases our sex laws. No, no. So, no, I'm sorry, Phil. You don't get this one. You don't even get it. You have added context to Akin's statement where context need not be added because that's not what Akin had said, you stupid prick. This is still disgusting. This does not excuse any of this, whether we're talking false rape accusations, legitimate rape, or actual rape, and the legislation and all this other stuff, or everything that's glomped around this topic, because like with everything, it's not that simple. I've studied enough medical text. I've studied enough about conception, women's bodies, their periods, all these things, and more, to know that this guy is trying to make an excuse by adding context where context was not there. You lose, Phil, just as Akin lost. And I sincerely hope that you get booted out as well, because you, sir, make me sick. You are exactly the reason why at times we are in the predicaments with things such as false rape amongst teenagers and high levels of teen pregnancies in the first place. You don't get it, and I doubt that you have the capacity to do so. How the hell did you get to be an OBGYN?